Life is full of tough decisions. Sometimes we face situations where any choice seems to have both good and bad consequences. How do we decide what is right? How can we tell if we are acting morally? Centuries ago, St. Thomas Aquinas, a brilliant philosopher and theologian, wrestled with these very questions. He developed a principle to guide us through such moral dilemmas, the principle of double effect. This principle offers a framework for making ethical choices when the outcomes are complex and morally challenging. The principle of double effect helps us to determine when it is morally permissible to perform an action, even if we foresee that it could have both good and bad effects. It recognizes that sometimes achieving a good outcome might involve unintended but foreseen negative consequences. This principle is not about finding easy answers. Instead, it provides a structured way to think through difficult choices, ensuring our actions align with our moral compass. The principle of double effect is particularly important in situations where the consequences of our actions are intertwined. Think of a surgeon who needs to perform a risky operation. The surgery offers the chance to save a patient's life, but also carries the risk of complications. The principle of double effect provides a framework for navigating such situations ethically. The principle of double effect rests on 4 key conditions. An action is only considered morally permissible if it meets all 4. First, the action itself must be morally good or neutral. For example, giving medication is in itself a neutral act. It is the circumstances and the intention behind the act that determine its moral value. Second, the good effect must not be a result of the bad effect. The good must arise directly from the action itself, not as a consequence of the harm. Imagine a scenario where a homeowner uses deadly force to protect their family from an intruder. The act of self-defense is intended to protect life, not to take it. The intended good effect is the preservation of life, not the death of the intruder. Third, the good effect must be proportionally greater than or equal to the bad effect. This condition emphasizes the importance of weighing the potential benefits against the potential harms. It reminds us to consider the magnitude of both the good and bad outcomes before acting. Finally, the intention of the person performing the action must be to achieve the good effect, not the bad effect, even if it is foreseen. This condition underscores the importance of intention in ethical decision-making. It highlights that our actions should be driven by a desire to achieve good, even when faced with the possibility of negative unintended consequences. Section 4. Applying the principle real-world examples. Let's consider some real-world examples to illustrate the principle's application. In the medical field, a doctor might need to administer a life-saving treatment to a pregnant woman, knowing that it could potentially harm the unborn child. Here, the intention is to save the mother's life, while the potential harm to the fetus is unintended but foreseen. If all 4 conditions of the principle of double effect are met, the treatment would be deemed morally permissible. Self-defense provides another example. If a person is attacked and faces an imminent threat of bodily harm, they may use proportionate force to defend themselves, even if it might result in the attacker's injury or death. The intention is to protect oneself from harm, not to cause harm to the attacker. The principle of double effect recognizes the right to self-preservation and the moral permissibility of using force when necessary and proportionate to the threat. Wartime situations often present complex moral dilemmas. Strategic bombing campaigns, for example, aim to disable the enemy's ability to wage war, which is the intended good effect. However, these campaigns can also result in civilian casualties, the unintended but foreseen bad effect. The principle of double effect would require a careful assessment of whether such actions meet all 4 conditions. This includes ensuring that all efforts are made to minimize civilian casualties and that the intended good effect outweighs the foreseen harm. Section 5. Reflecting on our choices, the principle in our lives. The principle of double effect is not just an abstract philosophical concept. It has practical relevance to our everyday lives. We all face difficult decisions where the potential for both good and bad outcomes exists. Understanding this principle can equip us to make more informed and ethical choices. It encourages us to carefully consider the potential consequences of our actions and to ensure that our intentions align with our values. Think about a time when you faced a tough decision. Did you consider the potential consequences, both positive and negative? Did you strive to ensure that your intentions were ethical? Reflecting on our past decisions through the lens of the principle of double effect can provide valuable insights into our moral reasoning and guide us towards making more ethical choices in the future.